Hi, Miguel. Okay, so I saw that you've only sent us 7 and 8. You really should send these together. But since I know you're in a hurry, I'm just going to get these to you. Okay. Uh, Let me change something here. Give me a second. All right, that's better. This is the letter to your relative who's coming to visit you. Let's see. Dear Mom, I can't believe you're are arriving in just a few days. I'm so sorry I won't be able to pick you up at the airport. I just couldn't cancel the meeting I have at 4 p.m. But don't worry, I'll be home by 7. Okay. Um, Fine. So, first of all, you are is what you wanted, not your are. You are. And then um I really wanted a better transition between these two ideas. So I love the beginning. I can't believe you are arriving in just a few days. But I really felt like there should have been an in between idea, sentence, some sort of a linker. Something maybe even as simple as please don't be mad at me, but I'm afraid I can't pick you up at the airport. Okay. So that would be good. Or even just like, I'm afraid I do have a little bit of bad news. I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to pick you up at the airport. Okay. So just a brief little transition would have made this feel a lot more natural. So let's continue. Once at the airport, hold on. Once at the airport, you can call an Uber. Although I must say that Friday afternoons, get rid of the apostrophe S. Friday afternoons are very busy, so it could take a while for you to find one, and they can be expensive. Another option is to take the airport's bus that goes straight to downtown. All right, full stop here. It is very safe and it's free. Once you get there, it is more easy to take a taxi or an Uber. All right, you really need to start working on these preparatory subjects. That's what this is called when you have an it at the beginning. So, yeah, it is more easy too. That's what you wanted there. And you would be close to my house. To get the keys, you can just ask Mary, my neighbor. She's aware of your visit, so she will be expecting you. Okay. Let me see one thing. Okay, you didn't give directions, but let's talk about that in a minute. So for this evening, for which evening? She's not coming today. She's coming in a few days, you said. So that's a little strange. So maybe you meant for your first evening. All right. I think that would have made a little more sense. Let's see. Okay. So for this evening, I was thinking about two options. We can go to have dinner at Brutto. Uh, hmm. Not it, which is my favorite restaurant here, and I really want you to try it. We can have some cocktails, and their specialty is sushi. However, if you feel too tired or just don't want to go out, we can stay home, order in some food, and share a bottle of wine. To be honest, I just really want you to be here. Aw, that's sweet. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Love, Miguel. Okay. Um, so put the Miguel on the next line. It doesn't go on the same line, all right? So I really like this. I felt a lot of this really felt natural, like you really were expecting your mom. And so I liked it. It had a very nice natural tone to it. Like I said, I thought you should have had a little connector here to make this transition a little smoother. You did something that a lot of people don't do, and I was so happy you did it. You actually made suggestions, and you would be shocked at how many people don't do this. So, why am I pointing it out? Because it's important to do this correctly. It says give some suggestions. Wait, let me see what it says. There we go. Give suggestions on your evening plans. So that's exactly what you did. You said there were two options. You said we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. And so that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Most people don't do that. Instead, they just say, we're going to do this, let's do this, let's do that. And that's it. It's not like this language of suggestion. And this is important because this is functional language, and you've nailed it. You got it down perfectly. So the tone was definitely friendly. I really liked it. There was one fairly major problem. Okay, and let me tell you what that is. You didn't do the second bullet. So you did a lot for the first, you did a lot for the third, but you didn't really do anything at all for the middle one. So you just said, take an Uber or take the bus, blah, blah, blah. But that's the only information you gave. That's not giving directions. So to give directions, you would have needed to say, take the number 73 bus, which is at the airport. It's free, and take it to the very last stop. You can hail an Uber and give him my address, or you can walk 2 blocks to the north and then take a left and then whatever. Okay, so that's giving directions. So while you did this one really well, you didn't do the second one at all. And so that's going to cost you for task achievement. So it's really a shame because I thought the tone and everything of your letter was really quite good. Okay, so please be aware of that. What's that? Okay, please be aware of that and make sure you cover absolutely every bullet. And again, like here when it says give suggestions, you did this absolutely correctly. You gave 2 suggestions. You said we can do this or we can do this. I don't care. I just want to see you. So that's giving suggestions. You gave multiple, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So make sure you give the same level of attention to all the other bullets as well. All right, let's take a look at this task 2 about. So it seems that we are living in an era where the authorities are encouraging, would have been better here, enterprises to relocate their operations from the most important cities towards regional towns. Although there are advantages related to this policy, such as growing of economic activity and better accommodation prices for the employees, it is also important to explain the drawbacks related to the government's measure. Okay. Not comma here, full stop. These are, but that's, let's see. These are the difficulty to find appropriate vendors and the workers are not as skilled as needed. Okay. So I think we talked about this in your previous set as well. I really don't believe that this level of detail in your introduction is necessary. And what essentially happened here is you had this enormous sentence that went into the 4th line. It's just too much. And the coherence of it got lost. You started making some grammatical errors. And so while I always approve of complex sentences, I really don't approve of complicated sentences. And that's what you've done here. It's just a little too complicated, and somewhere it got kind of lost. So, although there are advantages related to this policy, although there are advantages related to this policy, which include economic growth. Okay, which include economic growth, or you don't have to get into specifics because that's what you're going to cover in your paragraphs. It is also important to explain the drawbacks, such as lack of skilled workers. Okay, so this to me does essentially what you're doing, what you're trying to do here, but in a much more concise way. All right, so I want you to try to give that a shot. Alternatively, I'm going to suggest to you something else that you don't even have to do this. Okay, so what are the benefits and the drawbacks? Okay, you could say that although there are advantages related to this issue, there are numerous drawbacks that must be considered as well. And you know what? It's fine. You've told us that there are some. You don't have to get into detail. So those are just 2 suggestions for you on how to do this. All right, so moving companies to regional cities leads to an important growth of the economic index, especially related to job opportunities. I would get rid of those, especially related to job opportunities, because of the fact of having new enterprises in these locations, you don't need this comma here, brings new needs of workers. Okay, I don't understand that necessarily. Brings new needs of workers. Okay. Furthermore, these employees get benefits when it comes to accommodation rates, prices of food, leasing apartments, transportation, singular, among other basic services, tend to be lower in these ESE cities, so that the job offers are more competitive and impact in a positive way the company's balances. For example, in Bogota, you need a comma here. A civil engineer may earn $2.5 million, okay, and should assign 30% of his or her budget to rent an apartment. Nevertheless, in this place here, the same civil engineer's salary could be $2 million, but in this city, he should commit just 20% of his, you said his budget for home renting purposes. All right, let me think about this paragraph for a little bit, Miguel. Okay, so I basically read this paragraph again, and I'm trying to find a way to explain to you what I think needs a little help. So I thought this was a little strange. What does this mean, brings new needs of workers? Do you mean that it brings a need for new workers? In other words, it's like creating new job opportunities? This wasn't really clear to me. And you also didn't really explain it. And so you needed to support it. If you had supported it, then maybe it would have made a little more sense. But just the way you had it here, it was an undeveloped idea, and I didn't really understand it. Then I felt like you had a lot of information here, a lot of detail that maybe you could have skipped. So you said here, employees get benefits when it comes to accommodation rates. That wasn't really clear. And then you said, you started talking about food and everything. All the expenses tend to be cheaper. So the job offers, I don't know what happened in this paragraph. It's like some of the ideas just weren't really linked together. Other ones weren't really supported. So what did you mean by accommodation rates? They get benefits. That didn't make sense to me. And I didn't really feel like you supported it, because then suddenly you started talking about food, apartments, transportation. So I didn't get it. Okay. And then you started talking about, I mean, I think I know what you're trying to say, but you were trying to say that 2 million in this city gets you a lot further than 2.5 million does in Bogota. So I get that, but I think you needed to say it in a more concise way. Okay. So yeah, this paragraph for me really needed some work. All right, let's move on. I see so many people love the expression on the contrary, and I find that people rarely use it correctly. So here what you're really looking for is not on the contrary. What you really want is in contrast, okay? So in contrast, when it comes to here, disadvantages linked to these, ESE, because it's plural, we could point out some. Try to avoid this. It feels like a very kind of simplistic way to provide examples, and you're not really doing yourself any favors by doing this. I would like to see these kind of better written out and better linked, rather than just with a colon and then like kind of writing a list. That's not going to do you any favors when it comes to task achievement. Okay. So when it comes to disadvantages, we could point out some first and secondary cities. It could be an obstacle to the success of the company. Find out where to acquire materials needed for production. This happens because, is this all one sentence? This happens because it is normal that this cities offer a shorter variety of products. Okay, so again, there are some grammar problems happening here. I mean, I can try to fix it. Let's see. Let's start from the beginning. On the contrary, when it comes to disadvantages linked to these ESE relocations, let's see. Why don't we do this? In contrast, there are a number of disadvantages linked to these relocations. Full stop. First, so new sentence. First, in secondary cities, It could be an obstacle to the success of the company. Find out where to acquire the materials needed for production. All right. Here, like I said, there was a lot going on. So, in secondary cities, one obstacle to the success of the company is finding where to acquire the materials needed for production. Full stop. This is because normally these ESE cities offer a smaller variety of products. In addition, the workers in these ESE large cities could be less effective, no S, than those in large cities. You just said this happens because. You said it before, you said it again. I want you to change this around. You show some variety. They could be less effective than those in large cities because colleges are usually in the most important cities and professionals prefer to stay living there. Full stop. Additionally, this may occur because there are not policies that motivate professionals to move out and develop their careers in these, I already told you this is spelled wrong, cities. For instance, some studies, research is uncountable, some studies made in small cities like Via Vincenzo have shown that there is a lack of skilled workers for careers like, okay. All right, fine. So you can see that there was a lot of problem with grammar in this paragraph. There was a lot that needed work. There was quite a bit of repetition in your language. So I want you to be careful with that, okay? You need to show some more variety. Let's look at your conclusion now. To conclude, it is possible to, not really affirm. How about, all right, yeah, let's leave it. So to conclude, it is possible to affirm that the advantages of moving companies to regional locations, no comma, are more important than the disadvantages. Governments may not may improve the economic growth of cities with these movements, and it will impact the society in a positive way. Careful with your word order. However, the problems are related to it, like finding vendors. Get rid of this colon. Finding vendors or lack of qualified workers can be solved with social policies implemented by governments. Okay. So for me, the issue with this, Miguel, is grammar. There were just some issues, okay? Some errors, some areas that just, you had these long sentences. You use these devices, like you use some of these colons here that I thought was not really a particularly sophisticated or high level way of connecting ideas. So I would like to see a little higher level grammar and definitely more accuracy and just a little more, a little fewer errors, essentially. I mean, I want to see a little more work with some of these sentences. Okay, so let's see that last essay. Like I said, I know you're in a rush, so I wanted to get this back to you. But do send us that last essay, and let's see how you do, okay? I'll be waiting for it. Good luck.